I'm after the Death Star plans.
Kenner's Star Wars large-size action figures sold separately with movable arms and legs. C-3PO, R2-D2, Han Solo and the Stormtrooper.
You'll never find the planned Stormtrooper.
You can push R2-D2's secret button to open his hidden compartment.
Plans are safe and the Stormtrooper's gone. Thanks, Han. I didn't get this medal for nothing.
Large-size Stormtrooper, R2-D2, C-3PO, Han Solo, each sold separately from Kenner.
Okay, so those are actually interesting figures for one big reason, actually a huge reason. You may have noticed that during the first commercial that I showed, we had those huge figures which were actually dolls. In this case, unlike those dolls, these are big figures, but these are actual figures, and they actually have like the movable parts and stuff like that. They weren't like solid figures, like, you know, the arms can move up and down as we saw in the commercial. It was interesting to see that they only had 4 characters. Maybe they made more, but from that we only saw the Stormtrooper, R2-D2, C-3PO, and Han Solo. But I wouldn't be surprised if they made more, but from that they only showed, you know, those 4 characters. I mean, you would expect Darth Vader, you would expect Luke, you would expect, you know, possibly Leia. Maybe. I'm not sure about that, but, you know, you would expect some of those characters to appear in some form. So, you know, definitely good commercial, and, you know, there's enough detailing there. Obviously, there's no real sounds. It was more or less just what the kids were saying and all that. So, you know, these figures didn't come with sounds. It was mainly just, you know, articulation, stuff like that, which is fine, and it's a perfectly good figure. Those are perfectly good figures, and there's enough there for you to get enough play out of it back then, and even now, for some enjoyment. So, yeah, good stuff.
I need another leg.
It's Kenner's new Star Wars droid factory that you put together to make your own droids. Jawa action figures sold separately.
Hey, I made R2-D2.
You can make your own droids or follow the droid maker blueprints. By switching different tops, arms, and legs, you can make hundreds of droids, up to 5 at a time. The movable crane swings parts where you need them. You can even make droids with wheels.
Gotcha.
The Star Wars Droid Factory, Jawa action figures sold separately. New from Kenner.
Okay, so that was a good commercial as well, because, you know, that was the droid making factory, which is interesting. Obviously, they emphasize the whole entire Jawas. Oddly enough, they didn't even show them in any way in the commercial, because usually, even if they mention, like, something sold separately, they still show it. They still, like, show it, because, like, if you're going to talk about something else, like, what if the person doesn't know what Jawas are? Just saying. You know, it is important to, you know, show it in some way. And I don't believe they even showed it. I do like the crane. I do like the functionality. I do like the fact that there is a lot of different combinations and stuff, and how you can make it with wheels and all that. And, you know, it's actually something that I'm a little surprised that they even thought of back then. And it shows that they actually were thinking ahead. Like, with the whole entire combinations thing. Like, they were thinking ahead, and that's really nice to see. Because today, I could totally see the Star Wars, you know, the company that does all the toys for Star Wars now doing that same thing with like a droid factory of some sort. I could totally see that happening, and even more so, I'm a little bit surprised that they haven't really done that recently. And when I say recently, I mean, like, you know, with episode 7, I don't believe they did that at all. And I'll tell you this much right now, I'm pretty surprised about that, because that's something that I totally could imagine them taking advantage of, just because of the whole entire functionality of that and the extra detailing and stuff. Because that's a really good concept, and it's a concept that's been done with other things in the past, and it's nice to see that even back then they were thinking of that whole entire mixing and matching functionality. So thumbs up to them, and just in general, really cool thing to note that they even were thinking of that concept, and how people might actually want to see different versions other than just R2, because there are other figures there are more droids than just R2. Like, that's kind of important to note. There's a lot more than R2 and C-3PO. Not joking about that. So let's keep going, guys.
It's the Star Wars Imperial Troop Transporter that you put together. Batteries not included. Stormtrooper sold separately. What's that?
It's my troop transporter. It makes 5 more
R2-D2, where are you?
There's the laser cannon, stun gun, and stormtrooper.
Did he say that?
Oh, Dad.
Star Wars Imperial Troop Transporter. Stormtrooper sold separately. New from Kenner.
So that was the Star Wars Imperial Troop Transporter commercial. I really like that commercial just because, you know, they finally had, like, this, at least so far from what I can tell, this was one of the first commercials that actually took advantage of the voices from the movie. Pretty big deal, I might add, just because because nowadays that's a lot more common and not as hard to do. But it's nice to see that even then they realized, like, maybe we could use the voices from the movie. So they actually had C-3PO's voice. They actually had the beeps and boops from R2-D2. You know, like, they had those noises. They had the Stormtrooper voice that, like, you know, you typically hear with the Stormtroopers that most of them kind of just share. No, but I mean that. It's interesting to see that, you know, this was one of their first figures to do that. And, you know, six noises back then, that's a huge deal. And even now, that's no small it's nothing small, because I'll tell you that this much right now, some toys today even have like one noise or two noises or no noises. So it's nice to see that this even had like 6 different noises. I mean, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. And, you know, it's a good size transporter, and there's a lot of space in there, and there's a lot of room to put a lot of different figures other than just Stormtroopers and C-3PO and R2-D2. So, you know, really cool stuff, and it's just nice to see that Kenner really thought, like, really knew what they want. Like, he knew what he wanted, and he knew how he wanted to do it. And a lot of the things that he did are things that today have become are a big deal, and yet it's crazy to think that back then they actually thought of those things as well. And it's very fascinating. You know, it's really fascinating to me just to see how those commercials really, like, they thought ahead. They did things that today have become, like, or people think now are like new, but like, no, they've done them. Like, it's interesting to see that, and I actually really do appreciate the fact that, like, they thought that way. And you know, it says a lot about the Star Wars franchise, about how they really, you know, went ahead and they really thought ahead. So I'm just, you know, there's a lot of good that I can say from this. I mean, obviously this is episode 4, and people typically refer to, like, you know, the original 3 as the better movies, and obviously with the commercials we'll see. But, and I'm not saying that they won't be bad or good. We'll see. I'm not holding it to anything, because I want to see. I honestly want to see, because, you know, I'm going through as much as I can, and we'll see what we get, guys. So anyway, let's keep going.
Star Wars figures. R2-D2. Chewbacca, Luke, and Princess Leia. They're the Star Wars Early Bird set of figures. These action figures are not yet available, but this Star Wars Early Bird certificate package is in stores, with this colorful Star Wars picture display stand and certificate to send in to get a set of figures by mail. They'll be sent to you at home between February 1st and June 1st. The Star Wars Early Bird certificate package, new from Kenner.
Okay, sorry about that. So anyway, that was a cool commercial, just because of the fact that, you know, they were thinking ahead. They knew people are going to want these figures, and if you want these figures, then buy this package in advance, and when it comes time for the movie, you'll get all these figures, and you won't have to wait on lines, and you'll get them in the mail, and you'll be able to say, I have all these cool figures. I have Luke, I have Leia, I have Han, I have R2-D2, I have C-3PO, I have all these cool characters, and I'm awesome. Like, cool stuff. Obviously, they mentioned that there was going to be more figures, and obviously, as we know, they definitely happened. So cool, simple commercial, and they knew right away that there were going to be a lot more toys, a lot more playsets, a lot more of everything. Yeah. So cool. Let's keep going.